Welcome back to Daily Dose, Robert, Susan, and we're talking day one. And Susan put a big question at the end of the last dose, which is, if I heard you right, you tell me, you're talking about how much is quote unquote reality, the person, and how much is mythologization when it comes to the output, the actual writing. Did I hear that right?
Close. Everything you said. And what if it's a story? That's a story. Just telling a story.
So
Can one be used for that without coming?
yeah. So and here's the thing. Let me make sure I'm getting the term right. When you say a story, do you mean something fictionalized, something that has perhaps nothing to do with one's own life, at least as a leaping off point? Is that what I'm hearing?
Or even a, a real story that just has nothing to do with one's own life, but it's a cool story.
Yeah, yeah. So the good, great questions, and let's get to the center of what the value of a story is. You've heard me saying more recently. I put it out here. There's more truth in fiction than in facts. I love that line, so it's worth reiterating. There's more truth in fiction than in facts, and what that means is literal facts are where a lot of people start their storytelling. Here's what happened. Here's what happened. Here's what happened. And if life was just a series of here's what happened through our singular perspectives, I think we would miss on all the opportunity and the magic and the things that are beyond us. We have to have a sense of awe. We have to have a sense of humility. And this is where I think stories come into play, because things happen all the time that are not about us or are bigger than us or shock us or delight us, right? So that's the place where the storytelling comes into place. And sometimes the separation from the individual saying, point A, point B to point C, literally in one's life, that may not be that interesting unless the stakes are high enough. If someone lived an incredible type of set of circumstances, and the highest stakes usually are life or death, you might be like, whoa, that just now you've got the story. However, most of us don't live our lives that way, and thankfully so. We wouldn't survive being in constant life or death mode. That's
Sure,
really,
sure, yeah,
honestly, that's
yeah,
traumatizing, right?
sure.
However, that this is the cathartic element of telling these potentially traumatic elements in story-like fashion, to say, here's what happened, and here's what, now the second part, here's what it means. That's where, once again, the story part and leaning into the fact that stories have been part of our humanity since we've had society, since we've had communication. That's where we want to lean on the form, the hero's journey, as it were. Go ahead, Susan.
You just said, here's what it means. That's really landing on the basis of my question. If it's a cool story about a cool guy, not the person who's doing the writing,
You know,
why do you tell that story? You tell
right.
it because it means something from a moral perspective or a
Yep.
enlightenment. So if
It's
you're not in it, maybe
well,
that's where it comes in.
yeah, and here's a very important moment, I think, that in the writing process is that it almost, in my experience, never works to say, I want to tell a story with this theme or this morality. The theme morality has to be found in the discovery of the story, in the action. When you try to put it on first, it's like putting the underwear outside the pants. You can see it, you're like, oh, and that looks like a
Um,
very heavy-handed writer going, okay, this is about being a good person, I guess. It's like, no, let's let it be about a person doing a thing, again, going somewhere, doing something, falling in love, having their heart broken, being terrified, getting an awesome experience, and then, oh, wait a minute, this all added up to what? And we go, oh, and at the end we just are, oh my god, that's what that was. And it looks like a magic trick. It's so not.
it, it, I'm so glad to hear you say that because while I haven't written the end of my story, it's becoming more clear. And I love that I'm not there yet and that I'm getting little like thoughts are drifting in or pictures are coming in my head because then I can anchor things now. And I'm what am I, four or five chapters before I get to the end of my story.
This is the focus on the action. This is the focus on the things you've given me today about Ellie as a game show host, 50 years, wordplay, and living up in Harmony, Montana, and having these two friends. I mean, bam, you've answered so many things that were just drifting otherwise. that solid foundation. And by the way, your piece today where you wrote about the mice men very specifically and had a lot of great action dealing with them, you're in a totally different realm than you were a week ago.
It's because you've been beating me up and saying, have Ellie do something.
Don't say beating you up. They'll never sign up for the class.
Lovingly beating me up.
We'll be back. We'll try to be back for one more. I know that the boys are stirring like your little mice men. The
Uh-oh.
boys are stirring in my house. We'll be back for the next dose. Hang tight.
Okay.